Should scientists be in charge of society? Plato seemed to think so, and he argued for it near the end of Book 5 of the Republic. Here's some study guide questions so we can talk about it. 1. Why does Socrates think that philosophers should rule cities? 2. What do all branches of knowledge have in common, according to Socrates? 3. What is Socrates' argument for thinking that the forms are required for knowledge? 4. In light of Socrates' argument, how should we understand his claim that knowledge concerns what is, while belief concerns both what is and what is not? 5. If only philosophers have knowledge, how can non-philosophers reliably pursue their aims? Shortly after proposing the abolition of gender in the family, Socrates makes a further proposal that scientists, or intellectuals, or philosophers should be in charge of society. Remember that the word philosopher back then did not mean exactly what it means today. That is, somebody who specializes in a very narrowly defined academic field called philosophy, which is sharply distinguished from the sciences and other areas of inquiry. Not quite like that. We should think of the term philosopher as meaning more like intellectual. Here's what Socrates says. Until philosophers rule as kings in their cities, or those who are nowadays called kings and leading men become genuine and adequate philosophers, so that political power and philosophy become thoroughly blended together, while the numerous natures that now pursue either one exclusively are forcibly prevented from doing so, cities will have no rest from evils, my dear Glaucon, nor, I think, will the human race. Glaucon hears this and says, a great many people, not undistinguished ones either, will immediately throw off their cloaks and, stripped for action, snatch any available weapon and make a headlong rush at you, determined to do terrible things to you.
When the pants come off, look the out.
So, Glaucon and Socrates are anticipating that the proposal that intellectuals run society will not be met with popular praise. That this would be a very unpopular idea. Why does Socrates propose it, then? Now, the basic idea Plato has in mind here is that philosophers alone have knowledge, real scientific, precise knowledge, and that is necessary for ruling a city. Whoever's in charge should have knowledge, and if someone does not have knowledge, they should not be in charge. They begin to talk about what all the varieties of knowledge have in common. First, they note that if somebody loves beautiful bodies, they love all beautiful bodies. They have a taste for all of them. And that if someone loves wine, they love all the wine, all different kinds. And that if someone is a lover of popularity, they love being popular with different kinds of people. And that, in general, when we say that someone has an appetite for something, are we to say that he has an appetite for everything of that kind? Or for one part of it but not another? Well, everything. They then note that, in the case of the philosopher too, he loves wisdom, not for one part and not another, but all of it. So a philosopher loves wisdom. How is that distinguished from what other people love? Why isn't everyone just a philosopher? Everyone likes to learn things. Everyone likes to be a little wise. Why isn't everyone just a philosopher? We get an answer. Socrates says that the true philosophers are lovers of seeing the truth. Glaucon asks what he means by it. And Socrates says, let's agree to the following. The beautiful is the opposite of the ugly. And that since they are opposites, each of them is one thing, and they are two. And the same argument applies to the just and unjust, good and bad, and all the forms. Each of them is itself one thing, but because they appear all over the place in partnership with actions and bodies, and with one another, each of them appears to be many things. So, what the philosopher focuses on, that gives him wisdom and knowledge, and which other people don't focus on, and that results in them not having wisdom and knowledge, is the forms. What are the forms? Well, we're going to talk a lot about that, but certainly for understanding this section of the Republic, we should say that a Platonic form is a general feature. Suppose you have a bunch of beautiful things. Here's a beautiful thing, there's a beautiful thing, there's a beautiful thing, there's a beautiful thing. Each of those beautiful things exists. In addition, however, Plato would say that there is something else, beauty, a general property which each of the beautiful things shares and whose sharing explains why each of the things is beautiful. Or consider a series of hot things. This thing is hot, that thing is hot, that thing is hot. Plato would say that in addition to all of the hot objects, there's a general property, heat. Heat, which is shared, perhaps in different degrees in different ways, by all of the things which are hot. Likewise for the property of being a dog. Here's a dog, there's a dog, there's a dog, everywhere a dog, dog. Plato would say that in addition to all of the particular dogs, there's also something that the dogs share, something that they have in common that makes them dogs, a kind of doggy nature or dogness or doghood. It's the form of the dog. The form of the dog is a general feature shared by all dogs. The form of heat would be a general feature shared by all hot objects. The form of the beautiful would be a general feature shared by all the beautiful things, and so on. So what gives the philosophers knowledge and wisdom is that they focus specifically on these general properties, these general features that permeate the world. And Socrates says that although each general feature is one thing, that general feature will appear to be many because it's scattered all over the place. Heat appears to be many things because you have hot objects all over the place, separate from each other. Doggy nature, or doghood, appears to be many different things because dogs are scattered all over the place, separate from each other. And so on for beauty. It appears to be many different things because it's scattered all over in independent instances and not just one single thing in our field of experience. Now you might be able to see why there's a connection between scientific thinking of a sort and Platonic forms. After all, scientists, arguably, focus their interests on the repeatable patterns in nature, the general forces which can be present over and over again in repeated experiments and circumstances, the forces of electricity and heat and magnetism, and so on. Indeed, throughout the history of the philosophy of science, many philosophers have claimed that what it is to practice science is to attend to general features rather than specific examples. We could talk a lot here about what a law of nature is and how laws seem to connect up with general features and how those two seem to be parts of science, but we're not going to do that now. Although here's a couple of books that are neat that are on the topic. In any case, there's this idea that philosophers alone possess knowledge and wisdom because they focus on the forms. And other people who we might call intellectuals or philosophers, they don't really have knowledge or wisdom unless they really focus on the forms. So the forms play a very crucial role in this area of the Republic. Plato is arguing that scientists and intellectuals, philosophers, should be in charge of society because they alone have knowledge, because they attend to Platonic forms. Socrates both explains and defends his position by presenting the following argument to Glaucon. This is an argument that is directed at someone who does not believe in the forms, and it's meant to show that the forms have to exist in order for anyone to know anything. Here's how the argument proceeds in the text. After some discussion about knowledge and belief, which we will return to in a moment, Socrates says, "I want him to tell me this, the excellent fellow who believes there is no beautiful itself, no form of beauty itself that remains always the same in all respects, but who does believe that there are many beautiful things. I mean, that lover of seeing who cannot bear to hear anyone say that the beautiful is one thing, or the just, or any of the rest. I want him to answer this question. My very good fellow, we will say, of all the many beautiful things, is there one that won't also seem ugly? Or any just one that won't seem unjust? Or any pious one that won't seem impious? Glaucon says there is not. On the contrary, it is inevitable that they would somehow seem both beautiful and ugly, and that the same with the other things you asked about. They go on to consider other examples, but for now, let's consider the example of beauty. The key to unlocking this argument lies in the idea that to have knowledge, you need specific, unchanging standards. If a person does not believe in the form of the beautiful, then whatever their standard for beauty is, it would have to be a specific beautiful object. They would have to say something like this. You want to know what beauty is? It's the Mona Lisa. Or, you want to know what beauty is? It's the unicorn tapestries. Or, you want to know what beauty is? It's a starry sky at night. Whatever their standard of beauty is, it will have to be some specific thing or groups of things like that. After all, they don't believe in a general property that's shared among the particulars. They only believe in the particulars. So whatever standard they have for what beauty is, whatever their standard of measurement for beauty, it will have to be identical to some particular or sets of particulars. And that's where the trouble comes in. Let's pretend that they said that their standard of beauty is the Mona Lisa, where that's what beauty is. One problem is that there are many beautiful things that are nothing like the Mona Lisa. I would say that most works of music are not like the Mona Lisa, no matter how beautiful they are. Furthermore, the Mona Lisa itself is not always beautiful. It wasn't beautiful when it was being created. It will not be beautiful when it's rotting in the future. And even from certain vantage points, it's not beautiful. It's not beautiful from the side. It's not beautiful close up. It's not beautiful to people who can't see. It's not beautiful from too far away. There are all kinds of ways in which this standard is going to fail. If your standard of beauty is the Mona Lisa, then ultimately you're going to wind up saying that the only things that can be beautiful are going to be things that are like the Mona Lisa, and they will be beautiful exactly to the degree that they resemble the Mona Lisa. Yuck. And likewise for any other object you might pick. If somebody says, Bach's Third Brandenburg Concerto, that's what real beauty is, we'll have the same problem. There are parts of the Brandenburg Concerto that are absolute silence. Those little bits in between the notes. Are they beautiful? There are things that are beautiful that are nothing like the Brandenburg Concertos. In fact, as Glaucon says, any particular thing you pick out will seem inevitably both beautiful and ugly in certain ways. So, if somebody tried to avoid believing in the form of the beautiful, they would have to choose a standard of beauty among the beautiful things. And that standard of beauty must fail. With a failed standard like that, they're not going to be reliable detectors of beauty. They won't be able to tell which things are beautiful by using the standard that they themselves endorse. This isn't just a problem about the property of beauty. This is about anything. Socrates goes on. What about the many things that are doubles? Do they seem to be any the less halves than doubles? And again, will things that we say are big, small, light, or heavy be any more what we say they are than they will be the opposite? Let's take something nice and simple, like being double. Let's take an example of being double. There's one, there's one, there's one. These are all examples of things that are double, but every one of them is also an example of halves. Since they're the very same thing, if we didn't believe in a form of the double or a form of the half, we would have to say that being a double is the same thing as being a half. Or what about the feature of being big, right? That's a general feature. It's out there in the world. Some things are big, some things are not. If you don't believe in the form of the big, if you don't believe in the feature of bigness, you only believe that there are big things, well then what's your standard for being big? Every single standard you might pick for being big is going to be small compared to something else. Do you believe that to be big and to be small are the same? No! Let's formalize the argument this way. If knowledge is possible without the forms, then it's possible to use particular objects as precise standards of measurement. If it's possible to use particular objects as precise standards of measurement, then those particular objects must be incapable of change. Remember, the standards have to stay constant. Otherwise your measurements aren't even reliable. But no particular objects are incapable of change, so it is not possible to use particular objects as precise standards of measurement. So, knowledge is not possible without the forms. And there we have it. That's the argument for saying that only philosophers can have knowledge because knowledge requires the forms, and the forms are what only philosophers are into. Now, once we see that this is what the argument is about, it's a lot easier to backtrack and look at what Socrates and Glaucon mean when they say that knowledge is set over what is. and that belief is set over what is and what is not. What they're talking about, in a word, is reliability. Whether your judgments are reliable, whether the standards you are using for your judgments are reliable. If I walk around and I'm trying to judge which things are big, or which things are beautiful, or which things are dogs, and I'm using a standard that, like the Mona Lisa, isn't exactly right, then I will not have reliable conclusions about what I'm identifying. They're not going to be reliably true. I will get it right some of the time, but not all the time. I will be set over, so to speak, what is and what is not. I will have belief, not knowledge. If, however, I have a standard which allows me to identify all and only the dogs, it's reliable, then I have knowledge. The idea is that to say that knowledge is set over what is, as opposed to belief, which is set over both what is and what is not, is to describe a process of belief formation. If you have knowledge, then your process of belief formation involves a reliable standard. And if you don't have knowledge, if what you have is belief, well, then your process of belief formation does not rely on a reliable standard. It has an unreliable standard instead. So, there's our conclusion that only philosophers can have knowledge because they require the forms. Here's a puzzle. If only philosophers have knowledge, how are non-philosophers supposed to reliably pursue their aims? I mean, if I'm a shoemaker and not a philosopher, I don't have knowledge, according to Plato. So how am I supposed to go about making shoes if I don't have any knowledge? Well, we're going to talk about this when we cover Book 9, but for now we can say that as a shoemaker, I should work under the direction of a philosopher, or under the direction of a scientist or someone who knows what they're doing. That I, as a craftsman or an ordinary person, might not have scientific knowledge, but I can act as though I do as long as my actions are directed by someone who has that knowledge. And so that's why it's crucial for philosophers, according to Plato, to be in charge of society, is that by placing them at the seat of civic command, they are able to ensure everyone else's pursuits are reliably achieved, and for the overall best. What do you think of that? Does that sound right? Well, let me know in the comments. Next time, we're going to start talking about the sun, the lion, and the cave. Those three central metaphors that are the Republic's centerpiece. See you next time.